So fucking sick. So sick.
That means I'm moving. I made a few mistakes, but I'm improving. I'm human, but I've been making daily resolutions. I got to. You might do it different, but I'm not you.
Hey, Mark.
I'm self-made. I'm
Hey, Mark.
doing things that
Hey,
I was
Mark.
never taught.
Hey, Mark.
Hey, Mark.
Fucking right. Well, cheers, buddy. Let's fucking jump into it.
Cheers.
That's how we fucking start this one off. So, as I slurp my coffee. Welcome to another episode of Hey Mark, the podcast where I, Mark, get to have honest, authentic, and open conversations about the struggles that we go through and how they help develop us as the people that we are today. I like to talk about different things, whether they're stigmatized or whether it's your mental health, your physical health, your personal life. Realistically, anything that you're going through, I think that increasing the discussion around these things is going to help us out with dealing with these things and learning from our struggles as ourselves, but also to pass that message along so other people can hear it, be inspired by it, be motivated by it, and grow and develop themselves as well. So kind of starting a community that we can all just kind of develop from. And today I'm here with MP5, Myles.
Thanks for having me, bro.
Dude, thank you for being here. And we just kind of wanted to sit down and chat because him and I have very similar lifestyles, very similar mindsets, just different kind of avenues going through life. I feel like we relate to each other really well. And I think that every time we chat, it's always like kind of interesting or entertaining, or I get a new perspective. So I thought it would be sick to have you on, man.
Yeah, man, appreciate it.
So like in the last couple of years, I know like I talk about all the time what I do in my life, like with my workouts, with my reading, with, journaling and what I work on. But like, what have you been up to? Like, give yourself a little bit of an introduction, tell people where they can find you, and tell people like what you're all about.
So my name's Myles. I go by Real MP5 on most social media platforms. So I've been working on music really for the last, I guess, really 6 years. There's been a few breaks in between, but for the last like year and a half, I've been trying to just like up my game and keep working on it and just continue to pursue greatness and kind of like step away from the results and just work on it as much as I can, sort of thing. So yeah.
So I find like there's two sides to like our personality, in that like both of us have like a dream that we're chasing, we're kind of aspiring to do, and we work at that consistently. But there's always like this underlying tone of just like, at the end of the day, I'm doing these things to make me a better me. Mm-hmm. Like I just want to be a better person. I want to feel better. I want to make people around me feel better. I want to have like this positive, happy energy radiating off me. Like, do you think that those things like kind of like go hand in hand? Like when you're working towards music, it makes you better personally, or do you think you have to focus on both separately?
I feel like to a degree they go hand in hand, but you obviously have to kind of compartmentalize and like realize that if I'm sitting down working on music, I'm not necessarily working on my personality or how I treat people, because I'm by myself usually when I'm making music. So I mean, I still kind of take the time to consider those things, but it's not quite in the forefront maybe right now. But I think for the most part, I do a pretty good job of it in general. Like, I'm more of an introvert, so I'm not super outgoing at all times, sort of thing. And if I'm kind of like in my feelings, I'm not going to be the ideal version of myself, you know what I mean? But I think I'm learning as I go, sort of thing, you know?
Yeah. And like, obviously with you, like you've made certain steps in your musical career that, you obviously have to make a cognitive decision like, hey, I'm going to record an EP, or hey, I'm going to go and do an open mic and perform live, or hey, I'm just going to start telling people, yeah, this is something I'm working on. Like, did you have moments where you're like, fuck, I don't know if this is something I can do. I don't know if I should really talk to people about it. I don't know, like, if I could even pursue it. Like, it seems unrealistic. Like, I had these feelings all the time when I was starting my podcast. Did you have anything like that?
Yeah, pretty much like literally almost every other day. That's how it went. I mean, it's getting better now because I've put in so much of the groundwork and I've started to build kind of the the foundation that I need to actually continue to grow and thrive, and I don't really have to depend on people anymore because I've learned to produce, I've learned to mix, I've learned to write, I've learned to sing, all these kinds of things. So definitely at the beginning, for example, the first time I wrote a song, it was fucking trash, and I was like halfway through a verse and I was like, I can't do this, and I like stopped for like a week, and then I was like, I need to fucking learn how to do this. So I got back at it, and like I wrote another verse and it was trash, but it was a little bit better, you know what I mean? And then just seeing that seeing that growth is really the biggest reward through everything. Is like, it's not about the money, it's not about like fucking being flashy or like being a rapper. Like, it's just, I love seeing myself progress. And like from the first time that I started making music, I knew what I was capable of. I just wasn't capable of it yet. And watching myself climb the ladder, so to speak, has been like the best part of the whole journey.
Yeah, that's sick. How do you, like, for yourself, like, how do you measure that? Like, because art is such a subjective thing in that, like, what I think could be sick, you think could be trash, or you could think that is trash. Like, how do you, like when you look at yourself and you're like, okay, this verse is shit, and then you write another one, how do you measure, how do you know, like, this is better? Like, is it just personal taste, or is there, like...
Yeah, I think I just kind of... It's hard to explain. I can just kind of tell, like, it's my own personal standard of, like, what I feel I can do. It's, like, sometimes it comes down to the words that I use when I'm rapping. It comes down to the tone that I use when I'm, like, saying it. There's kind of a lot of different factors, but it just comes down to, like, a feeling. Like, I'll just listen to it and be like, no, this isn't it. Or, like, I'll listen to it and I'll be like, okay, this is pretty good. Like, there was a period, like, I'd say the first 5 years, I didn't even want to show people my music because I knew it wasn't good. And even today, I'm not fully happy with how it sounds. I just know it's, like, getting there, and it's, like, finally at a point where I'm comfortable even showing people, because it's part of the progression too, sort of thing. And I know that you kind of have to be willing to be criticized and to have things not do as well as you thought and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's more of just kind of a feeling, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I get it, because I'm the same. Like, sometimes, obviously I don't like to admit this, but there's certain episodes that I do where I'm like, this is kind of shit. Like, I think there's still value in it. I think that someone might be able to pull some knowledge out of it, or get a new perspective, or maybe laugh at a certain part of it.
Yeah.
Like, there's times where I put it out, but there's other times where I put it out and I think, this is fire. Like, this is so sick.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think that it is, like, kind of, it almost, like, hints to or alludes to, like, the idea that, success is in the eye of the beholder, beauty's in the eye of the beholder. Like, this is what we're striving for, because at the end of the day, it's like, it's a freedom of expression. It's I'm feeling something right now, and for me, I just talk to my phone, or I talk to someone like this. But, like, for you, it's like, okay, I'm going to express myself with these words, and, like, if I can express the way I'm feeling with, like, the way that the beat sounds, maybe, or the way the words that I'm using, like, obviously that's a more direct way to do it, but, like, the way that the music sounds too, right?
Yeah, yeah. I would say sorry, what?
I was just noticing, like, it's kind of like beauty's in the eye of the beholder, right? Success is in the eye of the beholder.
I would say as well that it's also kind of just the process. Like, not everything you make, even these big artists like Drake and J. Cole and like these high tier rappers, not everything they make is solid. You know what I mean? That's why they release a certain amount of songs, and I guarantee you they'll have 5 times as many songs that they aren't releasing than they are, because that's just how art works. You make as much as you can, and you do your best every time, and some of them make the cut and some don't. And I mean, some people might be willing to release the less popular, they're kind of throwaway songs, so to speak. But that's just how it goes. And I think for your podcast, it's the same thing. Like, you got to make it consistently, because that's what you're trying to do, but not every podcast is going to be a hidden gem or a, you know, like a piece of gold that you can be proud of. It's just the fact that you're doing it is important. And it's the same thing for music, I think.
Yeah. Well, for me as well, like the way that, like the magic sauce that I use, like the way that I am consistent with it is because it's just what I'm feeling at the time.
Yeah.
It's like whatever thing I'm either struggling with or winning at or whatever it is, whatever's happening in my life, I just try and, when I'm writing in my journal, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm going through. This is a way that I can move on from this victory, or this is a lesson I can pull out of this, or, and then I just share it in hopes that, you know, someone else maybe is going through something similar, or like, you know, so there's obviously some episodes that I make where it is funnier or it is more entertaining because that's how I feel at the time. And then there's certain things where it's like, I'm still trying to form my own opinion on this, so I'm just saying whatever I can figure out about it. Mm-hmm. So it's a lot less developed. And like, I think for me, like, I really enjoy it when it's like, okay, this episode made me laugh while I was recording it, and it gave me a new perspective. So like, if you can be entertained and educated, I honestly do think that that's like the best form of this type of media.
Yeah.
Right? So like, I'll be like, that's fire. But sometimes it's like, okay, this one was kind of like a little bit less educational, but we were just chilling out, having a good conversation. Someone might be entertained by this. Or this one was less entertaining. Like the one I just edited today, it was like, yeah, this one's a lot less entertaining, but I think that there's still value to be pulled from this. And at the end of the day, I want it to be like something that I can reflect back on and have a library of episodes to be like, okay, I've dealt with this in the past, so let's see how I can do it.
Yeah, and that I think too is like it's part of the journey to be able to see your progression and look back on it, because like you might end up looking back at some of your videos 5 years from now, let's say, and completely disagree with half of the things you said, but being able to like see how far you've come, I think is a valuable thing in and of itself. And obviously giving yourself new perspective and that kind of thing is better, but I think it's good to, like the same with my music, like I'll be able to look back at my music and be like, this music sucked, but I'm glad I made it and I wouldn't be here without it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That kind of thing.
Yeah, or like, especially with like a song, like you see so many artists, like some of my favorite artists, like just to name like one of them off the top of my head, Chris Cornell, he's like one of my favorite singers ever.
Yeah.
And you can listen to his songs and like there's bands that he like, there's like the song Say Hello to Heaven. Aiden's gonna love this because he loves this song.
Yeah.
But like the song Say Hello to Heaven is written by Chris Cornell. I'm pretty sure he wrote it by himself, but it's in like this band Temple of the Dog that he was in with Eddie Vedder.
Okay.
And he wrote that song about his buddy who passed away from an overdose. And it's like, that song perfectly captures everything he was feeling at the time, and it turned out to be a banger.
Yeah.
But there's obviously songs he's made that were like just how he's feeling at the time, and they weren't as popular.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's just a documentation of how he felt, what he was trying to deal with. Like, he's going through this loss in his head, he's grieving about it, and he's like, I don't know how else to express this.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's tearing me apart.
Yeah. That's the thing about music. I think that's why I was so drawn to it, because it's like a form of therapy, I think, for me at least, and I know there's a lot of other artists that think about it this way. Just being able to write my thoughts down on paper with the rhyme scheme, it just helps me work through issues. It helps me understand myself better. I think that's a big thing that has been for me, for sure.
Yeah, I think it's important for everybody to have some sort of like a form of expression like that. Like, that's the exact same way as I explain podcasting, is like it's like a form of therapy. It's like, I'm talking about what I'm struggling with, and then I'm having to think of solutions for myself, and then I'm just going to live them and try them and be like, okay, you know what, I can go back and say that doesn't work, and maybe I'll revisit a topic like you said, and I'll be like, hey, I changed my mind on this. But I could also go back and be like, okay, I've dealt with this in the past. This is something I felt in the past. Like, I've expressed how I felt, so now I can kind of match that to how I feel now.
Yeah.
And then it's like, okay, well, this is the way I dealt with it before, so I can just do that again.
Yeah.
Like, it's like a form of expression. It's the same as, like, you can go back to, like, times you were feeling a certain thing, look at the song you wrote, and it's like, okay, this was where my mind was at.
Yeah.
Like, this is maybe what was causing me to be where I was at. This is maybe what was helping me.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's always just, like, a snapshot of, like, this is where you're at, man. Like, it's a perfect... That's actually why I love the title of Now We Can Plug It. The title of your EP is it's like a reflection, bro.
Yeah.
It's a direct reflection of, like, how you felt.
Yeah.
So for everyone that hasn't listened yet, go and search it up on any single media platform. Real MP5 or just MP5.
Yeah, you can check out my the link will be in my bio, my Instagram account at Real MP5. Quick plug.
Back to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, kind of like back to my question before, like I remember when I started doing like the podcast and the YouTube thing, I was pretty hesitant to tell people about it. Like I was sharing it a bit online before I even talked to like some of my closest buddies about it. Obviously you kind of knew way before everyone else, but there was a lot of people where like I didn't want to tell them about it. I was kind of like not secretive about it, but I was like, oh, I don't want to just tell people like, oh, I'm making a podcast. Everyone and their uncle has a podcast, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, I don't really want to talk about it like that until like I'm at a certain level, and then I can tell people.
That's kind of how I felt about music too, right?
What kind of pushed you like over that? Because I have my own kind of thing, but
the feeling that I wasn't actually doing anything. Like when you're public about it, you're kind of held to it a little bit. Like not entirely, obviously I could drop a project and not do anything ever again, but action, what's the word? Action basically leads to more action, you know what I mean? So if I put the music out, I talk about it, I promote it a little bit, people might reach out to me. As a matter of fact, last time I did release my previous project under the old name, I had someone reach out to me and they told me it was sick and stuff, and they asked if I could help them mix a track, and I helped them out, and that led to a collab to one of my better songs. So it's not out yet, by the way. But so like that sort of thing, like if you put yourself out in the world, people have a chance to like interact with you, or like opportunities come your way if you're willing to put yourself out there, sort of thing. Mm-hmm. So I think that's sort of why I started doing it. And I mean, obviously there's like things like shows that I'd have to practice for, and I can't really do a show if I'm not releasing music. So that was another reason. Obviously with COVID, we're kind of fucked with that right now, but we're just kind of making do, right? But so that was a big one for me. Was it the same for you? Like,
yeah, like it was pretty similar. I didn't really want to talk about it because I'm like, oh, like I don't want, like for me it was like really I craved the social validation almost in the beginning. So then I was like scared that I wouldn't get it. So I didn't talk about it. Does that makes sense?
Yeah. No, I think to a degree that makes sense, because I sort of felt the same way. Like, obviously...
Oh, I want people to say this is sick, but I don't really think I'm sick yet.
Yeah,
so I don't want to talk about it because I don't want them to see where I'm at now and be like, oh, that's how he makes podcasts.
Yeah.
Because I know I can do cooler, better conversations, better production, better everything.
Yeah, that's basically how I feel about music too. It's like the same sort of, just different sort of circles to be in, but because like I put out the tape the other day, and obviously people I know would like it and share it and be like, yo, this is sick, but obviously I can tell that it's not like up to a pro standard of like a top tier artist, obviously, but I just kind of know that it's not going to get the response I want yet, because it's not as good as I want it to be, or that I know it could be yet. But that's, again, it's just kind of part of the journey, and it's part of the progress, and it's kind of like fuel to try harder at the same time.
I kind of like, I've got like two thoughts going on right now that I want to talk about, so I'm going to try and remember one while I ask you about the other. But I kind of know how your response is going to be for the first one, but I'm curious to see what it is for the second one. So the first one, I already know sort of what your response is going to be, which is like, you know, when you get an idea, you're like, hey, I want to be a rapper. Hey, I want to make podcasts. Hey, I want to start a new sport or pick up a new hobby. Like, is there ever like a good time or the right time or a perfect skill level that you'll be at before you can just start doing it?
I don't think so.
Sick. That's exactly what I thought you were going to say.
Yeah, you just jump into it and turn your brain off. Just fucking do it. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be perfect. I think the reason people don't start, and this is why I took so long to get things going, is I wanted it to be fucking perfect and come out of nowhere with this crazy song that everyone was like, yo, you're insane. But that's just not how life works. Like, you have to do it, and then, I mean, maybe for the odd person, they make fucking 3 songs and they all pop off and they get a record deal and this and that, but...
Like Jack Harlow?
No, Jack Harlow's been grinding, dude. He's been dropping music for like 6-7 years.
Either.
Like, but there's
maybe I'm
like
a fucking idiot when
but like
I
I'm
only
pretty
heard that
sure
one
I'm
song.
pretty sure Lil Tecca, I don't know if you know about him, but he put out like one song and he got fucking huge off it. Like, that's just a rare thing. Like,
it's like
beyond,
Chameleonaire.
I'm not actually familiar with his come up.
Chameleonaire?
Yeah, was it?
What was
like
that one song? Riding Dirty?
Riding Dirty. But even then, he might have been working low key for 8 years before that. Like, you never know, right?
Yeah.
But like, there's it's just that's typically that's how it goes. It's
so
like
many people are gonna be like, "You're a fucking idiot."
Yeah, whatever.
Right,
Fuck them. But like, yeah. So basically, like, if you want to start something, whatever it is, whether it's music or podcasts, or you want to get into film, or you want to be a doctor, a chef, just fucking start somewhere. And then you'll slowly, if you really want it, you have to think about it and figure out what you can do. And like, maybe you have to stop hanging out with certain friends, or maybe you have to limit the amount of time you spend doing things that you like compulsively do, like playing video games or scrolling YouTube or Instagram for hours. And you have to compartmentalize your life and organize yourself and just like better yourself before things start to fall into place. Because everyone's pretty much born with bad habits, and your whole life you're breaking them and trying to adjust and get better.
Or
right?
forming them.
Or forming them, yeah. Excuse me. But yeah, like, if you have any kind of issues starting something, or I know a big one is like not knowing what they want to do, so they don't do anything, sort of thing. But like Gary Vee says, just like try shit, and if you like it, keep with it. If you don't, then stop and try something else. Like, you might be the best fucking painter in the world if you start painting, but you don't know what you want to do, so you're just not doing anything. You know what I mean? So yeah, just like try things, and just see what you like. I think a lot of people, especially in their early 20s and late teens, feel like they're running out of time, or feel like they need to have everything figured out right now because fucking whoever on Instagram has their life together and they're making millions, and they're like
looks
20,
like it.
or looks like it, or but they're like, you know, they're young, or they're 18 and they're driving a Porsche or whatever it is.
I mean,
like,
these TikTok fucks that have like $1 million.
Yeah, but like comparing yourself to people is just like the worst thing you can do. Like, every time I've compared myself to someone, I feel like shit. I don't want to do anything. I feel like shit's pointless. You know what I mean? So
comparison is a thief of joy, man.
Yeah, just like fucking get off social media a little bit. Figure out what you think you might enjoy, and it probably comes naturally to you. Like, you're probably thinking about something that you would want to do, but like, oh, it's not realistic, or it's not, you know, like, I couldn't do that. Do it. Like, that's the kind of thing that you need to do. Like, basically, that's how I feel about
The
it.
fact that it makes you nervous or gives you like that butterfly feeling is like, dude, that's a natural thing you should be doing.
Or if it plays with your emotions, like, if you think like, I wish I could do this, but your brain tells you, but I can't, and then you like feel a little bit sad or like just a little bit like annoyed or like, you know what I mean? Just that's your best hint that that's what you should be doing, because that's how I felt about music when I first thought about it. I was like 18. I was like, no, I can't be a rapper, but it kept lingering on my mind, and I couldn't break it. Like no matter what I did, every time I got a bit better and then something happened and I quit, I would be like thinking about it every day, like I want to do it but I feel like I can't. And it took some time of like being down on myself and feeling like things were never going to work out. And there was actually periods where I was like, fuck it, I'm done with music. Yeah, no, that's a thing in the past, like for several months. And then like eventually it would be like, I want to fucking be good. Yeah. And I realized that it was good for me, because if you think about something because you want to be rich, that's not the same thing as thinking about something because you want to actually do it and be good at it. Or like, for example, some people might want to be a lawyer because they know that lawyers make 6-figure incomes usually, and they want that kind of money, but you're more likely to be pretty sad even if you do become a lawyer, because
and you become rich.
Yeah, and you make all the money, but you're not happy because your life is being a lawyer and you don't want to do that, versus someone that wants to become a lawyer because they want to like help people through legal situations and like be that person that can help them through it because they have the knowledge of how the law works. They can help them get out of tricky situations, whatever the case is. That person's going to be a lot happier regardless of the money. And that's how I knew that when I decided that I wanted to be a musician, like 100%, I was like, I literally would be broke the rest of my life. If I made the best fucking songs that I've ever fucking heard, I'd be happy.
Yeah.
That's kind of what drives me, I guess, is just being better and achieving what I want to achieve, and delivering the kind of messages that I want to deliver. I'll take that over the money 7 days a week.
Yeah, man.
And obviously the money's nice, but it's just kind of like a thing that might come or might not on the side that would be nice. But yeah, sorry, continue.
Well, I think that it's cool though as well, because this is something like, for me at least, like I have a day job. Like I have something that I do. Like I work in construction. Like this is something that I purely do because I enjoy to do it. No one pays me to do it. In fact, I pay to do it. Right? Mm-hmm. But like maybe you're in a position like even where I was at, where like I didn't really feel like I had anything. Like I was super depressed even before I started doing this. But I was, you know, I didn't think that I had any skills. This is something that really bothered me a lot. Is I didn't think that I had any skills. Like, you know, I love music, but I don't really have much musical talent. I can play around with the guitar, but I'm not good, right? I don't have like the musical talent. I don't have like any exceptional sport talent. Like we grew up playing sports together. I wasn't the best person on any team I was ever on. I wasn't even a hard worker. I was a slacker, right? Like I didn't even give a shit about practicing. Like I didn't really, in my perception, have any like notable skills. But one thing that I enjoyed all the time, my whole life, was talking and listening to other people, hearing other people's conversations, listening to them, being involved in it. I like that kind of thing. So I almost gravitated towards podcasting just because of like,
you get to talk to people all the time. Like,
well, and it's like, fuck it, I'm just gonna do what I like.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
This is something that's cool. Like, it's I just love this. Like, I love being present, putting our fucking phones away, looking at someone and just talking. And just kind of like, hey, this is something I've got figured out, or this is something I'm still trying to figure out. Maybe you could tell me your idea on this.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I think that for you, it was like a calling. You're like, I want to do this. For me, it was like, I'm just going to do what comes natural to me. The thing that I love to do. The thing that I do when I'm doing other things. Like,
yeah.
Like as a kid going to hockey practice.
You'd just be talking.
I would just be talking.
You'd be, for sure.
Right?
I remember that, yeah.
So it's like, it's just, maybe like someone out there, like if they're listening to this, they're like, okay, maybe I'm more like Myles, where I have like this one thing that's calling me and I'm going to pursue that. But maybe you're like me and you're like, I don't have anything really, but I'm just going to do what I enjoy the best. Because like I was talking to Aiden about this morning, and it's like, dude, you can make it doing anything. If you love the thing you're doing and you work at it all the time and you become exceptional at it, especially nowadays, if you could coach people to do it, like I said to him, I'm like, bro, you could make a living being a surfer and not be a pro surfer.
Yeah.
If you just teach other people how to start surfing, and you just run a class every weekend and you charge people for it, you could literally make a living. You don't even have to be a pro surfboarder, but you could make a living. You could be a professional surfer. You're surfing all day. You just surf with other people, teach them how to surf, practice the things that you're teaching them, and that's all you do.
Yeah, and then maybe along the way you become a professional surfer because that's your passion. You work on it every day.
But maybe you don't. But
Yeah,
at the end of the
maybe
day,
not,
like
but
you're
still.
just doing your thing. You're just doing your thing.
Yeah.
Like it's like so sick because you could, like I that was me and Aiden's conversation a lot of the morning this morning was just like how you can literally just do a thing. You just do a thing all the time. And it doesn't even have to be something wild. It could be something like, you know, carpentry. Like I'm a carpenter, right? It could be something like carpentry. If you love carpentry and you do that all the time, and then on the weekend you're picking up side jobs so that every day you just, hey, I'm a better carpenter today than I was yesterday. And then you could build a company just training other guys and having apprentices work for you, and then all of a sudden you've got 10, 20 apprentices and you're running a construction company and all you're doing is what you love.
Yeah, no, I agree fully. I think people can be anything they want, but they can't be everything they want. So you got to make sure you pick one, maybe two things.
Wow, dude.
And
Holy
just
shit.
I read a book on it. It's called The One Thing, and it's like,
I've listened to the audiobook of that.
yeah, it's like you can basically, you're best off just picking one thing that you like or love and like consistently do it throughout your life, and you'll just continue to get better and better and better at what you do if you do that. But people that are like scattered and they're like, yeah, I'm gonna do this for a bit and this for a bit and this for a bit, like they never end up achieving anything, because true achievement takes time if you want to become like above average, let's say, or great even, like but yeah,
That's huge, man. People can be anything they want, but not everything they want. That's fucking huge, dude. Wow.
that puts it in perspective for someone, hopefully.
I think that I will say this, there's a flip side to that.
What's that?
I think that it's a dangerous situation sometimes to put yourself in to just have one thing, like to pigeonhole your life. Like, so for example, like I used to be into bodybuilding, right? And I pigeonhole myself really easily in the sense that like when I find something that I enjoy, that's all I do. It's all I think about, it's all I talk about, it's all I want to do. Every time I'm doing something else, I'm thinking about that. I'm not even present with anything I'm doing. And it makes me resentful to things and people that
Aren't the thing that you're thinking
that
about.
aren't that thing.
Yeah.
But also, when you lose that thing, you crumble. Right? So like, for example, we were talking earlier, like I tore a couple muscles, and I also realized that the lifestyle of being a bodybuilder was not what I wanted. Right? So I wanted to be the bodybuilder. I wanted to have the physique, but I didn't like the secluded lifestyle. There were certain things about the lifestyle I didn't like. And so when I lost that, I was like, what do I do now?
Yeah, for sure.
Right? Like it's like a lack of identity, whereas
I think that comes down to like just a level of self-awareness too. Like you might think you want something, but you don't realize what it takes to do, or what comes with the...
Yeah, or you don't want to make the sacrifice for that.
Yeah,
because I still do put in like a lot of work into the work I'm doing now, probably if not more, but I enjoy what I'm doing. So it's like I'm okay with working 70-hour weeks doing this, but working 70-hour weeks doing something else, I was miserable.
Yeah, no, I feel that for sure.
Other thing I was going to say, I wanted to pick your brain about. I don't know how you're going to respond to this one. This is why I kept it for afterwards, because it kind of opens a discussion. But do you think you get more support from the people that are close to you, or the people that are around, like that hear about you or discover you when you're doing it? So say like you have your circle of friends, right? You put out a project. Do you feel like you get the most support from people that you know, or people that find your shit and they're like, I fuck with this guy?
I'd say on average, it's people that I don't actually know in person or that I have only met once or twice. Although Melissa is my biggest fan for sure.
And then me.
But like, yeah, and then you.
So
like, I wouldn't say that my friends aren't supportive. They're just not. They don't see me as my potential. I don't think they just kind of like. They'll be supportive in a very kind of nonchalant way, sort of like. They're not kind of like, yo, bro, you gotta keep going. This is crazy. Yada da da. They're like, yo, this is sick. Like, nice. You know what I mean? And it kind of just stops there, which is understandable. But yeah, I do think that the people I've talked to through like Instagram, other rappers, other producers, they're always like, because they're kind of in the same boat, so they understand that like, it's the people that are into the same thing and that have maybe experienced the same sort of subtle disappointment that comes with that want to give you that support. So like there's guys I've never met that are always like, yo, this is sick, like good job, like let's go kind of thing, right? And then there's friends that I have that are kind of like, oh nice, you know. So it's that's just kind of how it goes. I think to a degree too, like people that like I saw this on Instagram. I've seen it multiple times over the years, but people that you grew up with don't want to see you doing better than them, because it means that they're not doing as much and it hurts their pride or their ego or their own view of themselves, sort of thing. So like they're not necessarily going to tear you down, and I'm not going to say that all friends are going to be like this, but in general I think people don't like to see you succeed too much. Like they want you to, but not too much, because then they feel bad about themselves.
Yeah, I saw a quote this morning. My buddy posted it on his story, and it was like, the first slide was, why do you think random people support you more than your friends do? And then the next slide said, because your friends know that you started at the same level as they did.
Basically, yeah, that's exactly what it was, yeah.
And I was like, man, that's so fucked up, because it's true, man. You don't want to see someone else that you grew up with that, you know, started from the same situation as you maybe. And it's like, well, shit, I settled for this and now I'm living this life. Like, this isn't what I truly want to do, but I settled for it because it was like maybe safer for me, or I didn't feel like I could even execute on that thing, or
like you can talk yourself out of things too. Like I think a lot of people are a lot more talented and capable of things than they realize, but you talk yourself out of it. Like you were saying this earlier today when we were with my brother, like people just talk themselves out of what they're capable of. Like they wish they could do X, Y, and Z, and they kind of just like, it's probably better if I just stick with my 9-to-5 and like it's safer, I get a paycheck, I don't gotta stress about this and that. So I think that's
like your subconscious convinces you like, oh, that's not actually what you want.
Yeah, like it's
like,
sort of like
one of my biggest fears was like when I first started making podcasts, it's like, well, what if people really like it and then you have to do this? Like this is something that you have to keep up with. There's just like, if you get good enough, there's like an expectation for what you produce, right? Like say like someone that you really love, like any artist, like name any artist that you really love.
Russ,
okay. So say you have an expectation for Russ because you listened to him for years, right? If he knew you, if you were like, if he was aware of who you were and he was stuck in his own ego, he'd be like, fuck, Myles thinks I'm up to here. And so if I don't put something out that's up to there, I won't be good enough. Right? Like it's like almost like an imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Like it's like, fuck, I don't know if I can live up to the expectation after I achieve whatever I'm looking to achieve.
Yeah.
right? Like, and I'm sure people all go through that. Like, I'm sure like Gary Vee or Tony Robbins or any of those like huge motivational guys, you know, I'm sure they wake up sometimes and they're like, fuck, I don't know if I have anything to share today.
Yeah, I don't know about Gary Vee. He's a different kind of fucking human, dude. He's like on some new shit. I don't know. He's like, everything I've ever watched of him is like, no, I never get sad. I just know myself and I do this and that. But like, I know what you're saying in a sense that
I think he's beaten that. I think he's beaten what I'm talking about.
Yeah, like he's past that. He's like on his shit and he knows what he is and he knows what he's capable of, and as long as his family is good and
there's no front really that we can see.
Yeah, he's a humble guy. Like, he makes a lot of money
about,
and he's like always all over social media, but like he doesn't think he's like better than you or I. He's just doing what he loves and he's really good at it and he gets paid for it, and that's that.
Yeah. I think as well, I think you notice compliments and like support from random people more because they don't really have a motivation to talk to you, especially when you're on the come up.
Yeah, like,
because like,
yeah,
your buddies, like, say I make a podcast, and I'm like, yo bro, I made a podcast, can you give it a listen and just tell me what you think? Like, you're almost obligated to be like, yeah dude, good job.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
yeah,
you're
it's
like,
sort of like a friendly obligation that you like, even if you low-key think it's like not something you'd ever listen to, it's just to be nice, you kind of say like,
or you'd be honest about it and be like, hey, I don't really like this, but I'm happy for you that you're doing this, you should keep doing it.
Yeah.
But like someone random that just comes across your shit and then they're like, this is sick, and it's actually so sick, I'm gonna tell this guy that it's sick, or hey, this impacted me, or this changed the way I think about this. Like, I think a lot of your music, the reason that I love it so much, no matter what you say about like the quality of it, I hear the lyrics and I'm like, I fucking relate to this, dude. This makes me feel like he understands me, and this helps me understand what I'm going through.
Yeah.
Because he's putting it into words that I haven't used to describe this.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
So it's like super relatable, right?
Yeah, that's also, I think that's how most people, like, that's how I felt every time I listen to my favorite artist. I'm like, yo, I think like that, you know what I mean? So.
But how many times have you contacted them and said, this is sick?
Never.
But think about what that means then.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
For someone to message you and be like, yo, dude, this fucking really resonated with me.
Yeah.
This really felt good.
Yeah. I had a few people that I actually had never talked to that I used to know that reached out to me, so I knew that when they were saying it, it was super genuine.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like,
the support from random people not only seems more genuine, but it feels better. Like, it feels like, not to say, like, obviously, if like you have a friend trying to do something, fucking compliment them and tell them it's fucking sick. If it's sick, if you don't think it is, tell them how they can improve. If they love doing that thing, let them fucking chase that thing. But give them your honest feedback. But when someone random reaches out to you, it's like, this is sick.
Yeah.
Like, this resonated with someone that I don't even know or don't know that well.
Yeah. I think the other thing though with friends is that they want to be supportive, like they don't want to be negative about it, but I don't think they realize, because it kind of depends on the person. Like, personally, I would prefer to have someone be like, yo, I listened to the project, it was sick, but I think you can do better. I think you could do better. I think, you know, like constructive criticism and like a more genuine opinion. I think some people might think that it might like hurt someone's feelings or that kind of thing, but like specifically in my case, I would definitely appreciate it if people were like, yeah, this song was sick, but like I didn't really fuck with those two. Like, the message maybe was good, but it just didn't sound right for me or something like that. And I'd be like, dope, thanks. I'll take that into consideration when I make my new shit and that kind of thing. So I think that's kind of where it comes from to a degree. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah. I'm kind of more of a proponent of like positive reinforcement, and I don't know if it's something I'm like conscious of, like I'm aware of it. I don't think it is. I think that my attention just kind of goes towards the things I like all the time. So like, I don't know if you've noticed, but like when I listen to your music, there's certain tracks where I just don't really listen to them. I'm like, it's not really for me. But then when I do hear something, I'm like, bro, I love this.
Yeah.
Keep doing this.
Yeah.
Right?
But that's the thing too, as a musician, like, you have to know that everyone has different tastes. So your favorite song is going to be someone else's least favorite song that they never listen to ever, and they don't want to. Like, it's like just not for them.
Yeah.
So I have to take that into consideration too as I'm working on it. Like, not every song is for everyone, and at the end of the day, every song is for me. So like, I don't care about that too much. Obviously I want to try and make songs that get more attention, but I want to just enjoy myself and get into the best headspace I can to make the best music I can, and people will like what they like, sort of, at the end of the day.
Yeah. Well, and also this is just kind of something I just thought of, is like, if you say you release a mixtape and I listen to all of them and there's like 2 songs I don't like, or 3 songs I don't like, but there's a couple songs I really like. Like, you chose, I'm like, in my perspective, it's like, you chose to make the song I don't like. Like, that was for you. Mm-hmm. And like, I don't want you to stop doing what you enjoy. I just want to hear more of the shit that I like.
Yeah.
So it's like, keep doing this.
Yeah.
Do whatever you want on the side.
Yeah.
But just do these things more. Like, I like that. Like, it's like, dude, there's artists that I like. Like, dude, Elton John is one of my favorite artists of all time. But there is songs that I don't like of his. Mm-hmm. It's just like, he still had to make those tracks. That's for him.
Yeah.
But there's certain songs that are bangers.
Or even if it's like...
And I want more.
Yeah. Even if it's songs that a lot of people don't like, every song I make was a necessary song to make to get me to the next level, whether I like it or other people like it or whatever the case is. So in that way, it's always necessary to like just create, and like, I find I create the best when I don't think, or when I have a really deep emotion to think on. But in between is where I kind of fall apart. Like, if I think too much, I'll fuck some shit up. It won't sound right. I'll be overthinking like random little things. But if I'm just kind of not thinking and I just kind of get into a flow state and I just go, it ends up being better. Or if I'm like really emotional and I need to like vent something, then it works out because I have kind of like a sort of like a subject box to kind of work off of. But yeah,
I think too, like, this kind of just like a side thing, I think that like, people will give you feedback based off of what they've heard so far. So that doesn't mean you have to always listen to it, because you could have a new idea that they'll love even more. And if you just listen to the feedback they're giving you, then you could just stay doing that one thing and not discover the other things that either lead you to more success or lead you to more happiness. Mm-hmm. So like, for me, the way that I could use that as an example is like, when I first started like my YouTube channel, if you go way back, it's me walking around downtown Vancouver and on the beach interviewing random people for like 15 seconds.
Yeah, I remember that.
And then, you know, people were like, oh, I really like how you did this, so I really like how you do that. But if I had just listened to people's feedback, I'd still be walking around Vancouver interviewing random people.
Yeah.
And like, that was something that was really cool, and I'll probably do it a little bit in the future. But like, if I had just listened to them, I wouldn't be doing this right now.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's important that people like trust their gut a little bit, because I could kind of say the same thing. Like, if I always respect the people's opinions, of like people close to me, like you, Melissa, my parents, my brother, all that kind of stuff. But I never let their opinions dictate what I need to do. Like, I always know that I need to do whatever feels right to me, whatever I think of. And like, I'll take the advice and I'll process it and see, that might change my decision a little bit. Mm. But at the end of the day, I'm doing what I'm doing, and like, I have to in a sense, like, kind of shut out other people's opinions, especially because I know in the future there's always fans that are like, yo, this song sucks, make this again, make that again, like, you're a sellout, this kind of shit. And it's like, I gotta do what I gotta do regardless of anyone's opinions, because my opinion is the one that matters most, and that's how everyone should view their lives.
Yeah, it's like Kanye's latest record was like so different than like old school Kanye, and so many people are probably like, we want Graduation again.
Yeah.
Redo a Graduation type album.
Yeah, or like do 808s and Heartbreak again and surround whatever, and like that's not Kanye. Kanye is an evolutionary artist. He keeps changing, he keeps evolving. Every album is nothing like the previous one. Like, it's completely like, and that's really, as an artist, that's what you should strive for, because if you're not, you're kind of just staying in the same spot. Like if every song you make sounds like the last song you made, that's not really progress. You're just, you know what I mean? So, yeah, trust your gut.
Have you ever regretted trusting your gut?
No. I've regretted not trusting my gut more.
Dude, I was just thinking the same thing.
Yeah, every time I go with my gut feeling. But this is the thing too, you have to be able to differentiate what's a gut feeling and what's a bad feeling. Because sometimes you can get them mixed up. And like when I quit music, it wasn't a gut feeling that I should quit music. It was a bad feeling that led me to quit music. But I thought I was just following my gut, you know what I mean? So being able to differentiate like that, I think is important as you move through life.
Yeah, like kind of like anxiety and excitement are kind of like the same physical feeling.
Yeah, like
it's like that heartbeat, the pit in your stomach, the clamminess.
Yeah.
Like you're like, I had that explained to me one time when someone's like, think about like when you're anxious for something like a job interview, how you go to bed the night before, right? Like you're like kind of like lining shit up properly. You want to make sure everything's okay. You can't really fall asleep right away. You kind of up, you're like kind of laying in bed and you're like, oh, tomorrow's the big day, like da 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 da.
Mm-hmm.
But then he's like, but then think about the feeling you get the night before, like Christmas Eve as a kid. It's literally the exact same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, you line your stocking up. You like put your pajamas on. You have your little hot chocolate or whatever the fuck you do on Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
You like open up some gifts with your family. I don't know what the fuck. Everyone's different, right? But it's like at the end of the day, you're laying in bed and you're like laying there like, oh, I can't wait. Tomorrow's the big day. Like it's like the same feeling, like the gut feeling, like that stomach feeling and like the clamminess. But I think that I like the way you said it. You're like, I've regretted not following my gut. Like there's so many times where like I've looked back at my life where it's like, oh, this was a great success and I could have been on board with it. But I had, and I even wanted to be, but then I talked myself out of it. Like I had this gut feeling, oh, I should have done this. And then everyone that did that did well.
Yeah.
Or I had this gut feeling that maybe I should pursue this and I didn't. And then I could have been successful at that.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's like, fuck, man, I should have listened to my gut. But then there's times where I do listen to my gut and it leads me to a place that's pretty undesirable anyways. But then I always look back and I'm like, dude, you were just trusting your instincts.
Yeah, and like you have to be able to accept that not every single time that you trust your gut is going to have a perfect outcome, but you want to be able to trust your gut because let's say 4 out of 5 times it's going to lead you in the right direction, and then over time I think your gut decisions get better as you learn. Like, but like when you're a teenager, your gut might tell you to go do a bunch of drugs and so you can hook up with this chick that you like whatever it is, right? Yeah. And that obviously isn't a good decision. Like, we can see that now, right? But, like, a teenager might be like, oh, if I go do fucking blow and drink with this chick, she might fuck me, kind of thing, right? And, like, and then you do that and you end up the next day, like, why the fuck did I do that? Kind of thing, right? So, being able to trust your gut
I think
comes with a price, but it gets better over time.
Yeah, I think that there's like a sense of like trying to impress your buddies as well when you're a teenager.
Yeah, for sure.
Doing
Like,
shit that you just think that other people will think is cool.
yeah, like if I go fucking do this stupid thing, like my friends will laugh and it'll be fucking hilarious.
That was me, like my
Yeah.
whole teenage years. That was me.
Yeah,
So
so
if I say this thing that's a little bit outrageous, I might piss this one person off, but everyone else in the room will laugh. And like, you know,
Yeah.
for me as a 14, 15-year-old guy, I was like, you know, if I can make 20 people smile and one person sad, that's a good trade.
yeah.
In my head, I know it's twisted and wrong,
Yeah, no, I know,
right?
I know.
But that's how I felt.
Yeah. So, yeah, like you figure it out, I think, as you...
And I do regret those moments, I will say.
Yeah, I mean...
Not proud.
It's fairly obvious, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, it's part of growing up. Everyone has their own experiences, right? And like, yeah, I think just trust your gut and it'll always lead you, or not always, but it will lead you in the right direction if you continue to follow it, I would say.
I think
The worst thing I think people can do is not trust their gut and always seek validation. That'll get you nowhere ever.
Yeah. Well, I think that's because, A, you can't please everybody all the time.
Facts.
You can't please everybody, and you can't please all the people that you please all the time. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, if you're a fan of my podcast, I'm pleasing you. It's not like you're going to like every episode,
Yeah.
right? Or if I'm a fan of your music, it's not like I'm going to like every song.
Yeah.
So you can't even please the people that you please all the time,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, even like there's some people that like they'll have an artist that they like and they won't like a whole album. Like 20 songs will be like, this guy's fucked, I don't like him anymore, he's different.
Or there's artists you don't like and you like one album by them.
Yeah, but what people don't realize too, and this is what kind of going back to music, is that typically when you're an artist, you have way more songs than people know about. So when you put an album out, you might have 3 albums in the chamber ready to go, or that you're still kind of finalizing sort of thing, and they're completely different than the first one they put out, because that's just how music works.
Yeah.
Right? So I kind of forget how that relates to your point, but
I don't even remember what my point was at the time. I think it's that you're talking about. I don't even remember what I was saying. Basically, I've been thinking about something else in my head as well. I'm trying to form this opinion properly as well, but I think that it comes back to just trusting your gut and not being able to please everybody all the time. Like being able to, be able to please all the people that are fans of you all the time as well.
yeah, and I think if you make your goal to please yourself, other people will be pleased with it eventually. You know what I mean? Like, I know that when I make the songs that I know that I'm capable of making eventually, they're going to be so good that people won't be able to not listen or to ignore it, because I'll be happy with it.
Yeah.
So if you set that kind of intention and that standard for yourself, people will just be drawn to it eventually. It's inspiring, I think, to see other people doing things that you want to do, or that like whatever the case is, right? Or you wish, like I could say, like I wish I could be a fucking race car driver. So when I see someone racing and like drifting or doing something cool, like I wish I could do that, but you know what I mean? So like dedicating your life to that kind of thing and like setting that standard to please yourself and to be happy with your own work is like really important.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that people can tell, and I think that that's why we identify people as sellouts, because it's like I can tell that this guy made, you know, obviously people's lives change, so what they make changes.
Yeah.
But it's like if you're like a huge fan, and we were kind of talking about this before we recorded.
Yeah.
Like if you're a huge fan of somebody, and then all of a sudden they drop an album, and it's like completely different. In your eyes, they don't believe what they're doing, and you're like, I've listened to like 9 of this guy's albums. He's never sounded like this before. He's never talked about these things before. He's never done it this way before. And it's just like, I feel like this guy's just making what he think will be popular, and instead of doing what was therapeutic for him before, or therapeutic for me that he was making before.
Yeah. That's the other thing too, right? Having the expectation of that can lead to that kind of like unhappiness with the way an artist moves and like the way he changes and stuff, because at a certain point when someone reaches a certain level of success, like how much more can they struggle and suffer and you know what I mean? Because
their struggles evolve,
or they evolve. Like Logic, for example, his last album, he was like I already had a hard life once, so I have to recreate it every album for you cunts. It was a funny line, but it was like I don't know, their struggles change. He's a dad now. He has dad struggles. He has like whatever comes along with that sort of part of his life. And a lot of the people that at one time related to his previous struggles just aren't going to relate to that anymore, because that's just how life goes.
Yeah. Where like you look at guys like there's another rock reference, but like you look at guys like Dave Grohl, like the music that he made right when he started Foo Fighters is like, dude, Kurt Cobain just died. One of his bandmates for years just died. So he's obviously hurting, and he's just making music by himself. And now he's like, same thing. He's like, later on in his life, he's recording all of his stuff is just recorded at his house now. His family's around, his daughter's there, his wife's there, his buddies come over with their wives, they just chill out. Like, it's like completely different than when he's like recording right after his buddy takes his own life type of deal.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It's a different sound altogether.
It's a different,
It's a different, like he's
different
not
emotion, different inspiration, different.
But it still sounds like him.
Yeah, but just as far as like a different state of mind or a different perception of how the world works, like. You might be really angry when you're younger, and then you grow up and you kind of like, you're not so angry anymore.
Simmer out a bit.
So your music's not going to reflect that unless you force it or something, but then it probably won't sound good because you're forcing.
Or you're just angry at different things.
Yeah, or maybe it just comes out differently because you don't want to make the same thing twice and you're trying to be creative or whatever the case is. Like, so, yeah.
Sick, dude. The last thing I was going to say was... You said that, I think it was something like, correct me if I'm wrong, like I'm trying to remember how you said it, but you're like, the more you follow your gut instinct, the better your gut instincts get. And I think that that's true because, like, say you follow your gut instinct and it leads you to something that you don't like. Like, you're like, okay, my gut instinct is to say this right now in this situation, or to do this thing. And then you end up being in a place where you're like, you didn't want to be in. Then you can correct your gut instinct and be like, okay, I naturally have this gut instinct when I feel this or when I see this situation, and that led me somewhere I didn't want to be before.
Yeah.
So then you can kind of alter your gut instinct, and like over time, if you always do your gut instinct, you could it'll actually self-correct itself.
Yeah.
Because it's like your gut instinct will be to not do what you did last time.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. No, I agree with that.
And then that way, at least you could live your life always listening to your gut, and it just corrects itself over time to the sense that you're living what you know to be true, and you're getting into positions you want to be in. Dude, that was something I was just trying to form in my head, but I like that.
Yeah, that's I don't know if I've ever actually like thought of it that way, but
me neither, dude.
But yeah, I do think that's true for the most part.
Super sick, man. I think that's a fucking sick way to end this episode.
Nice.
Super sick. I know that you've got shit that you've got to go and do tonight for filming, but
yeah, I don't know what time it is exactly.
Oh, it's 3:20. It's 3:20
on
we're good. Saturday afternoon. So if you're listening to this, I hope you're having a great afternoon, with us. If you're listening to this at night, I hope you're having a good night. If you're listening to this in your morning time, I hope this just kind of made you kind of think a little bit more during your day, maybe think of things in a different perspective, or I hope we made you laugh or we entertained you a little bit. But that's pretty much it for my outro. You know how I roll. I do my own intro. I don't do my own fucking outros. So you do you, man. I want you to plug yourself, plug your mixtape, plug where people can find you on social media, and say whatever you want to say. But the one requirement is you have to leave people with a motivating or a happy thought, something that's going to make them think or feel good or motivate them for today.
Okay, I'll start with re-plugging myself. So basically on all social media platforms, it's at Real MP5. Just released an EP March 1st called Reflections. That's out on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud, YouTube. Links in my bios if you want to check that out. And I also have a music video coming out for the intro that I made with this man right here. So that'll be out probably in a week or two. Still figuring it out exactly. But yeah, I would say just a positive message is trust your gut, allow yourself to fail, and just don't give up. If it gets hard, reach out to someone, try to talk to someone you're close to, just keep pushing.
Yeah, and I'm gonna actually follow up with that. I know I normally don't talk in my outros, but he says allow yourself to fail, and that's so huge because the failure is what's gonna let you get better at whatever you're doing, right? Like if you're starting off and you want to be a barber, allow yourself to fuck up some people's haircuts. It's inevitable. It's gonna happen, but then at least you learn what not to do. You learn how to be better the next time. Like allowing yourself to fail is allowing yourself to learn. The only difference between learning and failing is if you quit after. So that's pretty much it.
Fact. Yeah, I'd say like even to this point, like I fail almost every time I try writing to this day. So, or even making beats, whatever it is. So just because you fail for the day or for whatever you're trying to do in the moment doesn't mean it's over. It's over when you stop and basically that's that.
Yeah, nobody fucking talks about how many practices that, Michael Jordan missed baskets. They only talk about when he set fucking records and won.
Yeah, exactly. But he missed more shots than he's made by like 20 times, 50 times.
Probably 100 times.
Yeah, so keep taking shots, basically.
Fucking do it. Let's go, baby. Have a good day, a good week, a good month, a good fucking year. Go out and be the best you. Allow yourself to fail and chase your fucking gut instincts. Let's go, baby.